Right when the Philadelphia 76ers had seemingly accepted the tank, that all goals for this season were off the table, that it was time to turn focus to prioritizing maximizing their draft lotteries, Quentin Grimes had something else to say. And in the process, Jared McCain watched on from the sideline, providing a little bit of peek into what he can provide for this team and his hero performing against them in Steph Curry there. So doing a touch on a little bit of both that. Got a lead with Quentin Grimes, of course, a career high 44 performance for the prized offseason edition here. That was 20 points in the first half, 18 in the third quarter, shot 18 of 24 from the field, 6 of 9 from beyond the three-point arc, a career high 44. And if you'd been able to knock down a couple free throws, we are talking about a likely 50 ball here. But nonetheless, do have to give him a lot of credit for this. I got to say, this was a little bit of one of those, Shaq memes of the I was not familiar with your game, Quentin Grimes. I've been a Quentin Grimes guy, have liked him as a prospect, have liked him as a player, but I never envisioned that was a guy that can get you 44 on any given night. That I more had him into this archetype of a pugnacious defender, a two-way type guard that is more of the complementary type role. He showed me something last night that he can step to the forefront. And this was not a guy just getting hot, hitting a bunch of shots. He did it in every single fashion of the game. He attacked the basket, knocked down threes, got out in transition, was dunking the basketball. Quentin Grimes was straight up awesome against the Warriors. Unfortunately, it did cost them a loss in that game. Now, granted, I had mixed emotions watching that, not sure what to truly root for. That obviously, it sucks to root for this team to lose for that to be the case, with obviously the reward at the end being those potential lottery odds. And really the best case scenario that we're walking into with that is that it's probably like a 63% chance of them keeping it. That's probably the peak. Maybe we can get really lucky if the Pelicans can get hot down the stretch and pass the Sixers as well. But the point being here that they don't control their own destiny. Now, with all that being said, do want to highlight a little bit more about Grimes specifically rather than being a downer about the mood. And he was asked about it after the game. Why was it such a impressive performance? And he said, quote, "Just come out being aggressive," Grimes explained. "I think last time, the game in New York, I didn't come out as aggressive as I should have, and we kind of took our foot off the gas at the end. But most importantly, come out here being aggressive and try to help the team get a win." The Sixers would now look to keep things moving in the right direction when they take on the Portland Trail Blazers on Monday. Now, with Grimes specifically here, this is a guy that is basically having his trial with this Sixers team, that they trade for him for the second half of the season. He is a restricted free agent, and they will have full bird rights. What that means exactly there is they can match any offer that comes his way, and it does seem incredibly likely to me that the Sixers are going to have a long-term contract agreement with Grimes. I don't think Daryl Morey would have gone out, would have sacrificed Caleb Martin, who I still like as a basketball player quite a bit, if he did not believe in the long-term future of Grimes, and I do think he sees something correctly here. Now, to touch on Grimes specifically, do want to pull up exactly what he's bringing to the table from a statistical standpoint, and on the year, he is averaging 11.3 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, 2.3 assists. That 40.1% three-point percentage is really intriguing there. Also shooting 47.6% from the field and 50% on corner threes. About to turn 25 and still some potential left to be unlocked. And what has really jumped to me that I have not seen from Grimes in any of his other stops to this point is the on-ball reps that he is getting. To this point, the Sixers are fairly starved for ball handlers. That we've seen what happened with Jared McCain. I'm going to touch on him deeper in a second. That obviously Tyrese Maxey is the guy responsible for the majority of it. Paul George hasn't really picked up that category of production. Kyle Lowry, who knows what he's doing these days. So Grimes has gotten a little bit more opportunity, and the results have been impressive. That in the pick and roll as a ball handler in Philly, 2.4 points per 1.38 points per possession. So that's in the 98th percentile there. And that does bring the question, to me, how do all these pieces come together? When thinking about actually building out this roster, I get Joel Embiid is the biggest X factor or question mark for full out building this roster, but really at the top in the guard position is what I'm most interested. Now, granted, when we look at the depth chart currently, it is tough to fully gauge as it has Tyrese Maxey as the starting point guard, Quentin Grimes as the starting shooting guard. But the other guy that I think is a huge part of this equation is, of course, Jared McCain. And I think we've forgotten about just how good McCain was during that brief stretch that he was here this season. I understand it is disappointing. He was given to us and taken away from us in such a short period of time, that meniscus tear. But just to highlight what he did on the floor and give out his stats here, McCain was averaging 15.3 points per game, 2.4 rebounds, 2.6 assists, just turned 21 years old, shot 46% from the field, 38.3% from beyond the arc. And beyond that, there was this spark of energy. There was life. There was this production and this style of play that really popped to me. And who was that style reminiscent of? Steph Curry directly would be the answer to that question there. And McCain was in the building last night, taking it in, for his full view here. So to pull up this exact picture here, shout out to Barnard. A couple really cool pictures and videos coming out from the Sixers beat guys. And Barnard tweets, Jared McCain watching Steph Curry's pregame shooting routine. He's been sitting by himself, talking to nobody, watching every second. Legitimately not sure he's taken his eyes off him for the last 10 minutes. And that to me is incredibly cool to see a guy who obviously the cards that he has been dealt as he is out for the season. He's still finding a way to maximize his talents and find a way to improve, master his craft by taking in the guy that he's trying to learn from. And for Jared McCain specifically, the influence of Steph Curry is evident in his game. McCain is a guy who I think has embraced the off-ball motion in the way that Steph Curry does, in a way that I haven't seen from other guys. Trae Young is a dude that is compared to Steph Curry often, and really the reason for that is he's a smaller guard who is willing to shoot from half court. That's essentially all that it boils down to. I even will go as far as to argue I think Trae Young's a far better playmaker than Steph Curry, that they're different players is my point there. For Jared McCain, I do think that he's embraced a little bit of what does Steph Curry do? I'm going to do that. And what Steph is excellent at, what his defining quality is as a basketball player. Obviously, the shooting is there, the three-point volume, the production all speaks for itself. But what he has done differently to the game of basketball that has changed things, it is the off-ball motion. You see the way guys are in full sprints chasing around screens at a level that nobody else commands that type of respect. Not a single other player. Steph Curry is that guy, and that is the type of gravity that McCain wants to command, and it's cool to see him getting up close look at that. And for McCain specifically, I had to pull this up here. This just completely warmed my heart. There was a cool moment coming back to that game where they returned from commercial, they panned over to the Sixers bench, and it was just Jared McCain giving Joel Embiid a little hug here. So to pull up this exact video, look at the walkover, little two hands around, a little pat right back from Joel, which I do appreciate there. So we know Joel is not the most touchy-feely guy, but to Jared McCain specifically, I love that there. I think that there is something so genuine, something so wholesome about this dude that I do think will translate and is necessary. There's got to be these good vibes, this positivity within this team. This has been an era of downright awful vibes surrounding the Sixers. So I think McCain brings a little bit of change in that. And for Joel specifically, there was another clip of them kind of messing around, shooting around in between quarters, or it might even have been after the game there. I do think that there is I guess, a good relationship there, which is cool to see. And again, there are a lot of questions still needing to be addressed about the future of Joel Embiid. But the fact that he's letting a guy go over and do this to him, I do think speaks volume about kind of the relationship that they have there. And do hope we get to see them back on the court together soon. So to Jared McCain, shout out to you for still providing a little bit of positivity. To Quentin Grimes, I don't know whether it's shout out to you or I'm mad at you for finding a way to win that game, but the fact that he is capable of those things, I do think is a really positive takeaway to look ahead to this Sixers team. And I do want to get into the conversation, and would love to hear feedback from you guys in the comments, but how do you think that works as sort of a guard trio? Do you see a world in which Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, and Quentin Grimes can all share the floor? I'm a little skeptical of that. I do think it works as kind of a three-man rotation, but I'm really curious what the full equation of that working is. Nonetheless, there are more positions that need to be dealt with. We will see what the future is with Paul George. We will see what the future is with Joel Embiid. Going to be some decisions needing to be made on Gershon Yabusele, Kelly Oubre, but we are getting ahead of ourselves to this point. Those are conversations to be had for the offseason. For this point, we still got a 20-ish game sample size to break down what we have for each of these guys, and I'm really encouraged by what we're seeing from Quentin Grimes. He has far and exceeded my expectations. This is a dude I think we can pencil in as a longtime part of this Sixers team, assuming the contract conversations go according to plans, which they have a significant edge on. So shout out to Grimes for doing his thing, and just one more stat to rub a little salt in the wounds. I hope there are some Mavericks fans tuning into this video here, that Quentin Grimes and Luka Doncic are the only guards this season to record a game with 40 points, 5 rebounds, over 2 steals, and over 5 threes, and the Mavericks traded both them away. So even as great as Quentin Grimes can aspire to be, I don't think he will end up being the worst trade the Mavericks made at this trade deadline, so I guess they have that to rest easy on. But nonetheless, we will see how the rest of the season shakes out from here. Appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning into this video. As always, make sure you're smashing that subscribe button if you have not already. Drop a like on this video if you didn't just yet, and I would love to hear your thoughts below on does that work as a trio? The Quentin Grimes, Jared McCain, and Tyrese Maxey, can they share the floor together? Those will be conversations to be had for another day, but would love to hear your thoughts on that. Appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning into this video. I'll be back talking to you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.